if you look at just that given that the whole trade system, everything exists so that people very high up can leech money off of it, right? That in itself is actually very exciting for transparent trade, because what if you don't have anyone leeching? So much extra value is opened up, right? That if everyone actually takes the cut that they
Deserve.
deserve, talk about it, and you see the results over years of all the amazing stuff that's happening in a world where, I don't want to sound naive, but in a world of AI and all this sort of like fakeness, like there will be more yearning for genuinity.
This episode is proudly brought to you by Mapper Forward's workshop. It's time to become a coffee consultant. Learn how to diversify your revenue streams and create freedom from your day job while saying goodbye to that alarm clock forever by becoming a consultant within the coffee industry or directly to consumers who have shifted towards home brewing and home roasting. Protect your income from challenging times in the coffee value chain by taking this course today. Go to mapperforward.coffee/workshops or click the link in the show notes for details. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar. This is episode 2 of a 5-part series with Lennart Clerkx from This Side Up Trading. We are talking about, is it possible to remain independent and values-based as a trader long-term? In this episode, Lennart, we're talking about the funding of coffee trading. And as I said in the last episode, I've waited for a long time to have this discussion with someone that I can have this discussion with. And I want people to understand why I have been wanting to have this discussion. I found out some months ago that there is a whole layer of funding. Let me say that better. There's a whole layer of fuckery behind coffee trading that is rarely spoken about. And it is where all the money is being made in coffee. Let's talk about it. How is coffee funded?
How is coffee funded?
How is the trading of coffee funded?
I think you know more about it than I do.
I'm not sure that that's true.
Yeah.
But I will start the conversation so the Illuminati doesn't come after you. Okay. So, folks, what you'll notice if you start to look deeply, not even too deeply, but sort of deeply, I'd invite you to take a look at where a lot of big coffee trading houses and equipment manufacturing companies have their headquarters. And you'll find that they're all in Switzerland. So I started asking people I trusted, hey, I think it's really strange that coffee trading houses are in Switzerland and equipment manufacturing companies, the big ones anyway, are all based in Switzerland. Why is that? So I started speaking to bankers, and when they found out that I had a podcast and that we talk about this stuff, they very quickly shut this shit down and shut the conversations down. But before, I wasn't hiding it. I was asking just questions like, listen, how come all of these companies set up there? Is it a tax haven? Is it? And what you start to understand is that trading is a very fucking lucrative endeavor for the banks. They fund the big trading companies and make money off the money. Is that the right way to explain it?
Yeah. They make huge amounts of it. They also, and at the same time, because they offer it at a low rate, because agreements are made so strongly over such long times that it's impossible to compete also with their price of money.
So how does this, we're talking about such enormous numbers of money, folks, that to compare these trading houses to the kind of trading houses that what this side up is, it's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous to put them in the same playing field. The buying power that they have, and this money goes so far back. Like, this is really, really old money that for people to think that they have a look into this is quite hilarious. There's like secret dinners, there's events there's all of these things that I have been finding out about that happen in the coffee industry that make the idea of expos seem hilarious. If you knew where the real business is being done, you don't even know about these fucking meetings. And just side note, anyone who would like to invite me to one, I'm very willing to go. I want to know if they go and drink baby's blood at these meetings or if they actually do business or what the fuck they do at these meetings. But I'm in, and I will give someone a tracking of my location to know if something happens. But all jokes aside,
keep up this podcast for a long time, and they'll pay you millions to stop doing it. So, and then they'll invite you. Yeah.
Well, they have. I've talked about it very briefly on the podcast before. There are people who have shown up here in Dubai and said, "How much will it cost us to have you shut this podcast down?"
There you go.
Governments as well as and so look, that's why this podcast is not sponsored.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to do revenue for this business has to be generated in other ways, through consulting, through education, through mastermind groups, through all of that stuff. But this is the product that gets the information out. This podcast is the product that is free, that gets the information out to the industry that the industry actually needs. So it's not going away, and we'll keep it free. Go ahead.
There you go. If you look at just that given that the whole trade system, everything exists so that people very high up can leech money off of it, right? That in itself is actually very exciting for transparent trade, because what if you don't have anyone leeching? So much extra value is opened up, right? That if everyone actually takes the cut that they deserve, talk about it, and you see the results over years of all the amazing stuff that's happening in a world where I don't want to sound naive, but in a world of AI and all this sort of like fakeness, like there will be more yearning for genuinity. That's why your podcast is popular. I'm convinced that is the biggest opportunity. That's the reason why all of this is growing so much. Why there's so much energy coming. People are becoming aware of this nasty leeching force, right? Everything that is in the end money driven, because some boss tells some employee down the line to stop doing good things but care about the money. This is what causes burnouts. This is what causes people to, in the end, have this being torn apart by the things that they do daily.
And people should, if you don't mind me saying, can you expand on that a little bit? Can you help people understand what's the kind of language that is an indicator for them that they're perhaps in quite a dysfunctional, toxic situation, that where they're being groomed or manipulated into doing things on behalf of the higher ups?
First, turn it around. Say, like, what is the things that they aren't showing? Because if you're interested in knowing more about some kind of sustainability initiative or something, and you click through and you keep asking, you keep digging, if you find more and more information and links and resources and phone numbers, people picking up the phone and talking and saying everything they know, it's real. If you find smoke screens and hotlines and SDGs and this, it's fake. It's just something that's put there to check off a box. I think the people who are in this, they know.
And it's as we said in the last episode, it's a tough position.
Yeah.
But you've got to make a call. Like, you've got to understand, like, what is that thing? And I was in that situation. For anyone who's listening who's saying, well, what she know? I used to work for IBM. I was a corporate for quite a long time. And it got to the point where I realized, like, this environment is not a healthy environment for somebody like me, somebody who feels a lot of things and sees through the bullshit, which is why I feel a lot of things. And I can't lie to myself every day anymore. And I can't be paid off with a great salary to put up with this shit for the rest of my life. So I need to either accept that this is going to be the rest of my life, or I need to get the fuck out and start figuring out what the real kind of life that I want to live is. And let me tell you, when you make that decision, it feels immediately gratifying, but that's when the real work starts. Doing hard things is going to teach you everything you never wanted to know about yourself.
Yeah.
And I promise you, if you can stick with that and you can find the courage and the grit to do that, it will be the most valuable, rewarding, defining thing you ever do in your life. But it's so much easier to drink the Kool-Aid. It's so much easier, right?
Yeah, for a while until
you hate yourself.
Either your body starts subjecting. Yeah, and that's the last resort, right? Like if you don't listen to your heart, if you don't listen to that, at some point, if you're lucky, your body will start objecting, and that's when people get burnouts. And a lot of people we work with, a lot of our most valuable insights into the old world are from people who've had burnouts and know exactly where what it is that we're fighting.
And I feel as it seems that that's what this new push is, where, as you say, there's a lot of energy coming towards businesses like yours, is because there's been an acceleration. Yes. Let's say from 2016 through till now, and it just continues to accelerate, where people are realizing that the world is no longer what they thought it would be. The future is certainly not going to be like what anyone imagined about their future. And perhaps even those, I mean, I'm getting messages from chairmen of some of these big trading houses saying, do you think that we can sit down and have a conversation? I want to understand what you know about our business and what you think we could do differently. What that says to me is that there are people who are in these businesses that are recognizing that they're people before they are a chairman of something.
Yeah.
And what legacy do they want to leave for the rest of the world? Because we are now in a situation where money as we know it may not exist in 20 years from now.
Yeah.
And so what happens to those who are running all of this whole fucking industry is run in the shadows with these deals that are being done, that somehow the rest of the industry, and this is not conspiracy theories, folks, not at all, not even slightly. Can you please localize that, Lennart?
Yeah, no.
This is not conspiracy theories, right?
No. How could it be if everyone in every single industry experiences the same thing? Fashion, any agricultural product, everything is being pushed towards centralization, and everyone sees the same problem. But I've actually stopped giving those sometimes well-meaning people my 2 cents about everything. We've been doing that for the people who work in these large industries They come to, and NGOs also, who also often serve these large industries. I've stopped giving them everything they want, because in the end, they don't come to give us something. NGOs should be giving us, their time, and to pick up projects that they know are going to work if we're involved, because we provide the sustainable trade. It's usually the opposite. We provide them with a lot of words and a lot of amazing
credibility,
everything, to pass that on to big companies, or to make that into some sort of 2030 goal. So we decided pretty recently we're not going to do it anymore. I'm not, it's not inspiring. It's basically, it's not helping the world if we do that.
When it comes down to the funding of the way that coffee is traded, let's talk about the mechanics of that. So you as a trader, you decided you want some coffee from this particular producer. You want to bring it into Europe. Tell me about the mechanics of the funding and how that works.
So the current world, that farmer or cooperative will need to go to some bank or local institution or social fund, something, or friends or family, to get the money they need to pay for all the upfront costs of the harvest. It's the same for any agriculture. You have costs, a lot of costs, before you sell the product. So they will need to borrow money. We need to borrow money because we only sell the coffee trickled in throughout the year. So we buy 5 containers of coffee. We need that money all at once, and we get it back. The roaster also needs a loan, because probably they have expensive equipment and are also just, slowly making back that money. So all along the value chain, money is lost to banks. The beginning of the value chain, obviously most, because in Congo, if you want to borrow money, it's against between 9 and 25% that you're producing for for the bank.
Yeah.
And so this is what needs to change. This is the large.
Geen meldingen oplezen op de Mac.
I think, is that your Siri?
Siri? Well,
no, that's the big guys listening in.
They're speaking wild to us already. Oops.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So you were saying that the banks are taking their cut at every stage.
At every stage, yeah.
People wonder that if there's so many people that are doing this, surely it must be profitable. I don't mean the banks. People look at coffee producers. There's 12.5 million coffee producers. People look at roasters and cafes. Like, these are all the small businesses that seem to proliferate and have created what we at Map It Forward call a success fallacy. This idea that because there's so many of them, it must be a profitable game. What you're explaining is who's actually making the profit, who is taking the money and eviscerating the profits, right?
Yeah, it's true. And the ones who are most comfortable in this are only the very, very large companies. They're the only ones who are comfortable because they have easy access to money, and they push all the responsibility towards the farmers. That's the one thing that you hardly
high volumes,
see.
Right?
Yeah. If it was really a consolidation game to secure high quality or good product, then you would see many, many more farming operations owned by the large companies. But that's the one thing that they obviously don't want to do, because that puts risk in their hands, which now they're very comfortable that it's not.
And when I speak to people who work for these companies, this is where it gets complicated.
Yeah.
Because they're good people. The people who are on the ground at origin that work for these big, huge trading companies, they're really good people who really care for producers.
Yeah.
And they say, but Lee, we're doing everything that we can to make sure that the producer gets treated well. You should see the way that the other guys do it compared to us. And I'm like, but they're saying the same thing about you. This is where I get confused and it gets complicated, because unless you can look behind the veil of that, something's not right here. How is it that across the entire value chain, everybody's getting fucked?
Yeah.
And there's so many people that are willing to get that situation happen to them. How is this success fallacy continuously perpetuated?
Well, if you look at that person on the ground that has their heart in the right place, they're still serving that thing that in the end, the decisions are outside of their control. So a lot of people get into coffee out of passion and they end up working and not out of a lot of roasters that we work for. I mean, they're not making much money. I mean, they were making more money in the job that they had before.
Yep.
Cooperatives in many places are not making money. A lot of people actually want to get out of coffee. You know, a lot of people all over, especially Africa. Actually, I mean, people do coffee because there's nothing else to do. But the success fallacy, yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, a lot of good people passionately pushing this, inspiring other people, but at the same time serving a rotten system.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that can keep going for a long time, but in the end, but it's still it has it's leaking on all sides. It's yeah.
And I wonder why people don't. We are seeing more people talk about the fact that it's not working, but when you see things like trade shows where we have golden 24-karat gold espresso machines, and we've got 15,000 people turning up to these expos because they miss seeing their friends and they want to have a social engagement. What ends up happening is that new people who are trying to escape their corporate life, thinking, I want to do something that's really easy and profitable, like they do the number in their head of what it costs to make a cup of coffee. It's always wrong. And they think coffee's highly profitable. They don't understand the OPEX involved in running a business. They think that they're going to go and see if this is a healthy industry. They turn up to one of these trade shows and all they see is opulence and debauchery. Everybody's happy. Everybody's having a great time. And then comes the next wave of ex-corporates who end up hating their life because they're living less than paycheck to paycheck.
I'm surprised at how many people from outside of coffee who are very into sustainability, they look at coffee and they see, wow, this is an industry where people are talking about living income. People are talking about, all these things that aren't being talked about in other industries. So coffee is doing a very good job at faking it, it seems, right? We're talking about regenerative. We're talking about a lot of amazing buzzwords that are being proliferated. Interesting to see from the outside. Is it so much worse in other businesses? I don't know. I imagine it's worse in sugar than in coffee for sure, because it's not a visible product. But
do you think
it also means that
sorry, go on. It also
means that because I can see it for what it actually is, there's a lot, the lingo around it is very powerful. And it is actually inspiring people from outside of coffee and seeing, wow, coffee is really making a difference. And
We're not.
we're not.
Oh, and that's what I wonder. Do you think that people care about broccoli as much as we care about coffee? It's a serious question. Like, there is something different in the coffee industry.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's about the people or it's about the commodity or it's about the process. What is it?
How many people do you know are like, yeah, coffee is so special to me? You know, like, people get into coffee because they really they're passionate about. How many people are passionate about broccoli, you know, or sugar or something like this?
Right.
There's just maybe there's cacao.
Yeah.
You know, there's just a few things that have this amazing sort of magnetism as coffee. That's why I'm in coffee. You know, because it is a very easy podium to stand on to make a difference, to actually make a difference, because people listen just because of the fact that it's coffee. You know? But it makes, I mean, it's completely ridiculous. It's a ridiculous product. No, I mean, it makes it so.
On the daily, I have that thought that how has this industry been created that supports so many unnecessary industries that have been built off this? Yeah. We've built a whole education system of teaching people to draw pictures with milk into coffee. On the daily, I check my sanity about being in an industry that reveres this.
Yeah.
This coffee competitions thing, I'm gonna continue to shout this from the rooftops. Folks, I'm telling you, get off that fucking track if you are on it with coffee competitions. It is a dead end, meaningless, ego-fulfilling elitist endeavor that is going to get you nowhere. I cannot tell you the number of competitors who have made it to nationals and to the world who have considered suicide and have told me about it. Get off that track and go and invest your time in learning how to run a business instead. Learn about how coffee is traded. Learn about the financials behind it. If you want to get mixed in with something that's going to have long-term impact, figure out how to solve problems like this. That's much more worth your effort. Coffee producers, those of you who are touting, I'm doing this to prop up coffee producers. Go fuck yourself, first of all. Second of all, this is the way that you can help coffee producers. Solving these problems is the way that you help coffee producers. So anyway, I knew that this episode was going to be filled with a whole bunch of me airing out all of my... I hope it was a big release. Everyone feel free to come at me. I'm, at this point, nobody's surprised that I would say any of this stuff, but it needs to be said. Yeah. Anyway, okay. Next episode, we're going to talk about maintaining a values-based trading company and continuing to be independent with the long-term idea of being one of the big guys. So join us for that. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, friends. Please don't forget to show us some love by subscribing, liking, commenting, and most of all, sharing this podcast with your friends. Check the show notes for links, including our sponsors and our Patreon. And stay tuned for more great conversations on the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward.